Welcome online. We're here at World Press Freedom Day once again, and we're going to have a panel starring with Erka Koivunen and Hanna Nikkanen, among others, to speak about digital freedom in practice. And also we're going to have very interesting panel because we're also getting real examples from Tanzania about what World Press Freedom is. So welcome everybody online, and we'll be starting the discussion and panel soonish. Hey, who are you?
Hey, I'm Hanna Nikkanen. I'm going to be moderating this panel.
Who are you?
Hi, my name is Erka Koivunen. I'm from opsec.
What are you going to be doing?
Speaking.
Good one. Hi, who are you?
I'm Dennis Msaki from Tanzania. One of the panelists on the security of internet for journalists.
Okay, that's going to be interesting. And we're going to be starting soonish.
We're starting actually right now, I think.
Good.
Okay, let's get our panel started. We're going to be here in the piazza with F-Secure and Vikes, and we will be talking about digital freedom and digital security for journalists. Our panelists today are Erka Koivunen from F-Secure and Dennis Msaki from the newspaper in Tanzania. I'm Hanna Nikkanen. I'm a journalist with long play here in Finland and the future visiting professor of journalism at the Tampere University. So our invited guests, Erka is the digital security advisor at F-Secure. He's here to tell us about the practical solutions that exists for journalists who are facing digital threats in their work. And we're specifically interested in this session in understanding the threats in the developing world, where Vikes at the foundation of, now I need to remember the English name, Finnish Foundation for Media and Development, which does a lot of training for journalists in different parts of the world, and which I've also occasionally been a part of. And something that Vikes has found in their work is that the distribution of information about digital security and the threats in the digital world are quite unevenly distributed in the world. Some countries, journalists are threatened often, they're very well aware of the threats they are facing and the protection that they need to be using on the internet. But in other countries there may be massive threats but very little information about what a journalist needs to do for their own protection and for the protection of their sources. So we're living in a kind of an interesting time where new threats are emerging, new methods of protecting your source are emerging, and it means that all journalists need to be constantly studying, constantly updating themselves on the ways to prevent snooping, basically. So Dennis, you have worked in the past in 2 different newspapers that have been shut down by the government in Tanzania. So I'm interested in knowing, how do the journalists at your newspaper in Tanzania, how do they protect themselves? And how do they protect their sources? What kinds of tools in practice do you use to keep yourself safe?
Okay. First of all, I'm very happy to
be the panelist. As the coordinator of this program has said, I'm Dennis Musak. I've been working as a media for close to 20 years. I've been managing editor for 20 years. First, I was the editor for Mwananchi newspaper. It's a leading newspaper in Tanzania. And about 3 years ago, I shifted to another newspaper called in Tanzania. So when I was working with the Mwananchi, it was shut down for 3 weeks because of revealing salary to the government officials. This was not a big issue, but I think they were using it as a political tool to threaten us not to cover more issues of government concern. Answering your question, what do we do to protect our sources and to protect journalists and to protect digital activities or digital platform in my newsroom in Tanzania? First of all, as a journalist, we are not allowed to reveal sources. We are ready to go to court. As our tradition, we cannot reveal the sources. And most of journalists in the country have that tendency. They obey that norms that they should not reveal the sources. Even if you are taken to court, you have to protect the sources. Because once you reveal the sources, then they won't be able to give you information and you lose the credibility. In the internet or in the digital platform, we have what we call wall fire that protect the outsiders to get inside into information. So whenever we want to access inside our system, we block them. But also, the major problem is not from outside. As you know, many countries, especially in Africa, the security operatives work as a journalist in the newsroom. So whenever you have something inside, they will be first one to know, and they can keep outsiders and come. We have not seen such a thing, but we have many journalists working in the newsroom as journalists, but they are also security operatives. I think I have answered your question. Maybe we can talk later about cybercrime and everything.
We'll get to that. So for those just joining us, we're talking about digital security for journalists. And Erka Koivunen from F-Secure, I wanted to ask you, because you work at a company that has a lot of journalists among your customers. Your tools are quite widely recommended as sort of the basic go-to tools for a journalist in a risky environment. Is there a geographical difference when you look at journalists who use your services? Does a journalist from, for example, Russia, use different tools than a colleague that comes from Finland or comes from Tanzania or comes from the US?
That is a fair question to ask, and unfortunately I don't even know. We, as a company, when we provide services like the Freedom VPN that tries to provide you with anonymous and untrackable network connections, we don't even know what kind of user that is. Is that a reporter? Is that a corporate user, or would that be a child or somebody else? We don't know, and we're not basically even interested in knowing who our users are, and we're not tracking the usage of the service. So we're not even caring about which services they trying to reach while using our services. So basically, I'm not in a position to tell how our products that are privacy enhanced products would be used differently across different parts of the world. However, we know that some governments actively try to make it pretty difficult to reach and get access to our services. And currently, actually, United Arab Emirates has actively blocked access to our VPN service, mainly, I think, because they have legislation that makes it illegal to use encryption to protect your communications privacy for obvious reasons. It makes it really difficult to control your own citizens if they have access to you. It's made available in that country, and we know that domestic users and expats living in that area have our software, and they have gotten to use that service. And now, late last week, we started getting reports in that the customers of ours are not able to put on the VPN protections anymore due to really aggressive and active blockage by the government on that front. We also know that in China we're facing similar problems, and in quite many other countries. Sometimes the blockage goes on and off depending on the political crisis, if you will, or at least situation at the time. So we get indirect feedback on what types of users are using the services and what types of areas is really difficult or next to impossible to use good security products. Which actually brings me to the topic that Dennis was touching, that whenever you have government as your antagonist, if you will, government actively trying to suppress freedom of speech, your ability to collect information, interview people, and disseminate the end result, which could be the newspaper, online article, or something like that, you really face an admittable adversary. That's going to be a really difficult place to be. And in that sense, you should actively try to protect your communications privacy, your endpoint security, your networks, and at the same time, you actually would need to pay attention to wider and more holistic aspects of so-called operational security. And operational security takes into account that you are working under constant surveillance, you have your sources that you need to protect, and no digital device is to be trusted if you are not fully aware of the whole life cycle on where did that device come from, who has had ability to type in commands in there, what software do you have in place, and what network connections is going to take place. So our products and our services try to address those aspects, but then again, if you are in constant bombardment by your own government, you really need to pay attention to all the small details.
Which takes up a lot of time that you are supposed to spend reporting.
Definitely, and not only it's making your life and work difficult, but it's also discouraging people from approaching you with good stories. People you want to interview might genuinely feel afraid that even the fact that you are approaching them as a journalist might put them in danger. So you really have to be clever in the ways that when you approach people and when you're actually doing the interview, so that there is not going to be metadata that is going to be linking you with your sources. And this is difficult enough in Western societies, where you could at least have a basic assumption that the authorities will not use this information against you unless you are committing real crimes. But then when you are in environments where you cannot even trust the government to actually pay attention to human rights, and they artificially create laws that make pretty ordinary things illegal all of a sudden. So you have to actually get pretty streetwise, clever in that sense.
And well, Erka mentioned, said that, well, if your antagonist is the government, and this is a kind of a good thing to note, that often when you start thinking about your security as a journalist, you first need to start decide who is the most likely person, or what type of an antagonist are you actually facing. So how is it in Tanzania when you report, or when your newspaper reports, what kind of a story is the most likely to cause you trouble or attract the attention of some of this noob? Would it be the government? Would it be a private company that is against your reporting? Would it be the organized crime? Like who are you preparing to face?
First of all, when we report about especially the state house issues, we have to be very careful, because they always track what you report about the state house or the president or the senior government officials. That's the part of the government. But the more dangerous from the business community, they are drug dealers. Drug dealers, they're also dangerous people if you report about them, because they know you are following them. But we have also laws that allow security agents to get your information from the mobile providers without going to the court. So that's also dangerous. So you can have a security, a wall fire protecting your organization, your internet. But they can go to the internet provider in the big system and they get everything they want. And that there is a law, they have to abide by it.
How do you limit that? How do you protect, for example, if you have an anonymous source that you are communicating with on the mobile, and you know that system is not safe, you know that information can be gotten without even a court order.
Yeah, if we have something very sensitive, I can use mobile of another person who is not a journalist, and then we organize an appointment, we meet face to face if something is very sensitive. But also we can use WhatsApp, because WhatsApp is the most protected. It's not
Nowadays.
Not nowadays. Nowadays it's protected. Yes, I think WhatsApp is protected nowadays. So you can use WhatsApp to communicate. But you can use a mobile from another person, but you cannot discuss anything in the mobile. Yeah, that's how we go. As a journalist, we have our tricks, nuts and bolts of how to get information without that. But it's very difficult, because there is laws that allow government to come monitor you through the system, and the mobile providers, internet providers, they have to abide by that laws. Otherwise, their license will be in trouble. Yeah.
Actually, Dennis touches a good point there. The local service providers, which the telecommunications providers are, they have to follow the local legislation, and obviously it looks like the local legislation is such that you can get information about communications without court order with vague suspicion of something. Alright, and that's the natural and obvious way to circumvent that type of threat is to move your communication out from the local provider to an international party that actually has technical and legal safeguards against that government access. So WhatsApp was now mentioned as a case in point, an actual product that would provide that type of service. WhatsApp provides an end-to-end encrypted channel between one participant of the communication and the other. And the telecommunication provider that is actually moving the bits between you two has no clue as to what is being transferred, and probably not even has a clue who is it that is communicating now. And the government can always approach WhatsApp and ask for that type of information However, if that correspondence with YouTube is not a crime according to the headquarters of that company, the chances that they are going to reveal anything about that private communication is pretty slim. So the government will lose track of that communication. The trick is now to find trustworthy external, in this case foreign service providers that you can trust and whose the old-fashioned landline, we were not introducing additional encryption levels to the communication, but we were kind of trusting that the mobile phone or the landline phone company would not reveal information about what is it that we're communicating about and with whom. All right, we have now plenty of evidence that those companies are not to be trusted in many parts of the world. So to enforce that legal protection, we also have to have encryption as a technical layer of protection.
So let's say, let's imagine, Erka, that you are, let's say you're a big businessman in Tanzania, you have a problem with Dennis's reporting. You want to find a source. Someone from your company has been talking to the journalists and exposing something that you are doing, something illegal that you are doing in your company. You want to get at that source in Dennis's reporting. Where would you start looking? Where would be the most likely weak point in his communications?
Actually, I would use many avenues. Based on the material that is now being published, I can try to do guesswork as to what type of people would even have access to that information, what subset of those people would have motivation to reveal that information. And sometimes it could be as simple as that. Then all the reporters working for the magazine or the online news outlet or whatever media, they are known. Some write in their own name, some at least get the payroll. So I would follow the money, who gets money from the company, who has mobile phone access, who might have landline, DSL or cable modem access to the internet, and try to identify those access points and start monitoring their traffic. The office network and the news desk that you have has obviously internet connection, and you probably communicate to the printing facility when you're shipping out the fresh printed material. I would start communicating those networks as well. And I would actively seek ways to infiltrate your internal networks. We were talking about firewall being protecting your internal network from the outside. I would start finding holes in your firewall. I would start finding devices that would occasionally reside inside and occasionally travel outside. And while you are not watching, I would infiltrate their security and install keyloggers, malware, or other types of nasty creatures that you would then take into your network. So different types of avenues, definitely. I would follow people. I would install CCTV cameras. I would I would be all over you.
You sound like a nasty adversary. That would be very...
Governments typically, when they decide that they want to take you as an enemy, they have endless resources. They have lots of people. Money is not an object. They have endless source of supply of devices and ingenious, really nasty software engineers that they can deploy. It's only now, as a journalist, you have to weigh in risk. What type of risk appetite do you have? If you're exposing minor secrets, I would imagine that the authorities are going to be using pretty moderate and pretty polite means to figure out the sources. If you are having a big dynamite reporting on the leaders of that country, you would really need to start suspecting that none of your digital devices are secure. You could try to identify those malware, those intrusions, but this would only serve to confirm that somebody's after you. It doesn't mean that you will be successful in repelling it. Am I too gloomy here?
But I can also use CCTV to monitor what you want to put inside my newsroom. So
that is true.
Yeah, I can use CCTV to monitor anything that you are putting inside, but also I can have a software to clean up the house every 2 days, so your software won't work there.
But do you find malware on your computers? Do you find keyloggers installed? Do you find viruses coming from someone trying to access your data? I didn't newsroom.
Actually, for me, I've not found it, but about 5 years ago, my computer was stolen in the office. All computers were stolen.
Okay.
And they switched off the CCTV before they went inside, and they stole all my computer. And up to now, I don't know where is the computer. We reported to police. We have received any information yet.
Okay.
So they stole the computer. Maybe they were looking for data and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're running out of time. I want to make one last question to Dennis. I would have so many more questions actually, but also based on what we talked earlier about the cybercrime laws in Tanzania and so on. But since we are now running out of time, there's one thing that I've been wondering about, which is that here in Finland, in Europe, in the United States also, we find a lot of new companies building digital tools for journalists, building ways to securely transmit image, video, sound. But a lot of these tools eventually fail because they are not considered to be safe enough, or they don't really respond to a real need, or no one actually knows how to use them. If you could kind of ask for a specific digital tool that you would need in your reporting, what would that be? A new technology?
I think first of all, we should have phones with satellites that are more safe when you operate inside the country. But also a wall fire that's capable of protecting the intruders, and also a smart CCTV that can protect you and your newsroom, but also the trust of the people you work with. That's very important, because if you don't have trust of the people, it's easier to lose what you are doing inside. You want to add something?
Actually, I would love to add that I would strongly advise against trying to come up with something that is merely used for reporters. Because much of the stuff that is actually needed would be a safe place to store information, safe place, safe machine, and safe device to have communications with, a system that is stable enough for you to use for publishing purposes. These are not only reporter type of tools. And if you try to come up with software solutions or infrastructure solutions for really targeted narrow audience, you end up having really small developer base for that type of service. So try to adopt general purpose tools that are big enough to stand in the internet against all the threats out there, not just governments and criminals, but also white hat hackers. Google Docs is pretty good. Apple mobile phones are pretty good in that sense, as we've seen.
That is a good note to close on, and especially I think I like, Dennis, you started with talking about the trust, you know, that you need the trust of the people that you work with. And basically, I guess that's what digital security for journalists comes to. It used to be about telling our sources that no, I will not tell your name to the police. And nowadays, it's also about the fact that, well, your name to someone, and that so it is still a question of trust. It just gets a bit more complicated.
So Erka. Hello. So, bullet points, the most important things on how to protect yourself.
Well, that was, I think, pretty well covered in the interview, that you have to understand what type of adversary you are trying to protect from. So if it is government, you kind of have to understand that government has laws at their side. So they can pass laws that would make your business illegal. If you still want to conduct your business, which might be press, you have to actually get pretty clever in trying to circumvent the attempts of the government to suppress your business. You have to, in this sense, provide security that would protect your sources. Your sources have to trust that they can interact with you, they can discuss with you and send information to you without being revealed. And your systems would need to be protected enough for the adversary not to break into your system or overwhelm your publishing systems with service tax. That was not that short.
You're never so short. Thank you, Erka.
Thanks.